And welcome everyone to our fourth town hall. This is on Bond 2021. And I'd like to thank the district for partnering with us on these town halls. Beginning back in January is a great way to inform our PTA members and public about what's going on. So, sorry, our panel tonight is Dr. Stone, Superintendent, RISD, and Sandra Hayes, who's Assistant Superintendent of Operations, and Christine Shoup, who's member of the Bond Steering Committee. And our special guest tonight, Karen Clardy, who's President of the School Board of Trustees, Kim Caston, School Board member, and another School Board member is with us tonight, Eric Eager. Thank you. The format for tonight's meeting, we'll have a short presentation, a video, and a PowerPoint. And then we'll have a Q&A of questions that were submitted earlier as of noon on Monday of this week. And that is our format for this evening. So with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Stone.
Well, hello and good evening. I was getting dressed for this evening and I just decided to pull out this shirt, which I've worn in many of our other elections, and it really doesn't tell you how to vote. It just says it encourages you to vote. So I'll be wearing this tonight and in the coming days, but this is a great billboard, if you will, about the fact that we do have an election coming up on May 1st. And Richardson ISD has something very important on the ballot. And so tonight is about giving information about that so that everyone is informed. And we really want to, we say with hope that, you will take this information and you will share out this information because you are here because you are a representative of the very important PTA that you represent. And so we want to get this information out across the entire community. This is really in the next month between today and going up to May 1st, an opportunity for us to share information. And it is information that is very, very, this is my first headline for the night, which is community-based. We really worked with the community and turned over a lot of information and a lot of this work for the community to make a decision and to decide about what they wanted to recommend to our Board of Trustees. And you're going to see some of the information that's on the slides in the presentation that we're going to do tonight, where it says one vision. And we put that out in terms of our slogan or our logo, if you will, for Bond 2021, because we really feel that by the end of the process of working all through the fall with members of the community, one of whom you're going to hear tonight speak, we really feel like that our vision of the district and the vision of the community is a shared vision of moving forward for the future of Richardson ISD. So as you mentioned, we do have a number of board members. We have a number of our staff who are here tonight. And I want to turn the microphone over, if you will, to Sandra Hayes. And she was the person who was leading the community steering committee. And I'm really proud of the work that she led. And so she's going to take over from here and lead the presentation. And we want to leave a lot of time for you to be able to answer, to ask any questions. We are here to be transparent and to answer anything that we can do to help inform our community about Bond 2021. Sandra.
Thank you, Dr. Stone. Good evening, everyone. Happy to be on the call. As a lifetime member of PTA, I feel like I belong here alongside all of you as past presidents, etc. So thank you. We have a couple of different things to show tonight. The first one is a video about 9 minutes. Our strategy and engagement department led by Dr. Heller put this together, and it really talks through the 2016 bond that we're currently in and then what we're planning for the 2021 bond. So I'm going to go right to that piece.
Richardson Independent School District operates on a 5-year bond cycle for capital expenditures. Bonds are a resource available to school districts to furnish and equip school buildings and programs. Voters must approve bond packages as a financing tool for capital construction projects and other items or equipment with a useful life of more than 1 year. In 2016, Richardson voters approved a $437 million bond package. Bond 2016 provided the funds for capital maintenance, such as repairing and replacing roofs, floors, playground equipment, and HVAC systems. Bond 2016 also provided one-to-one computer devices for all students and teachers, technology equipment, safety and security equipment, and additional career and technology instructional materials. Thanks to RISD voters, Bond 2016 accommodated student growth by constructing 24 classrooms at Lake Highlands High School, 21 classrooms at Richardson High School, and 6 new classrooms at Mark Twain Elementary, North Whitfield Elementary, and Yale Elementary. Renovations took place at Aiken Elementary, Big Springs Elementary, Yale Elementary, Prestonwood Elementary, and White Rock Elementary. Passage of Bond 2016 took RISD's largest underutilized classrooms, libraries, and transformed them into adaptable, flexible, and collaborative learning environments at both the elementary and secondary levels. Multi-purpose activity centers, one at each high school, allow students in fine arts and 17 varsity sports to practice, rehearse, strength, and condition in a safe, secure, covered, versatile, and ventilated environment. No more missed practices due to bad weather or another student group occupying the court, field, or stage. Planning is critical to ensure that current and future RISD students have the resources they need. In preparation for Bond 2021, a 50-member bond steering committee analyzed facility assessments, enrollment projections, financial and other data relevant in creating and maintaining learning environments that align with the district's mission, vision, and goals. The Bond Steering Committee represented a diverse cross-section of RISD taxpayers, community leaders, parents, business owners, and senior citizens, all with the goal of putting together a community-driven bond package that will provide resources for every school across the district. And the committee developed a recommendation that would not increase the current property tax rate. After meeting throughout the fall of 2020, the committee provided facility, equipment, and infrastructure recommendations to the Board of Trustees on January 11, 2021.
This is something that we spent months going over and over and over to make sure that the recommendation that we're providing tonight is representative of all members of that committee.
The bond package totals $750 million and consists of 2 propositions. Proposition A for $694 million is for capital construction, infrastructure, repairs, buses, safety and security, and equipment. Proposition B is for $56 million for student and staff technology devices. $694 million is proposed for school construction, including more classroom space to accommodate enrollment growth, renovations of older buildings in poor condition, and projects to address physical safety issues at 2 schools. Categories and examples of anticipated projects include $286 million for infrastructure and safety. This includes items such as roofing, HVAC, flooring, maintenance, furniture, security, and school buses. $269 million for construction and renovation. This includes Phase 1 of our middle school transformation. Plans include rebuilding Lake Highlands Junior High and renovating Forest Meadow Junior High. Anticipated projects in the construction and renovation category are additions for growth at Mohawk Elementary, Brentfield Elementary, and Pierce High School, the final of 4 high school renovations. Anticipated renovations for student safety are planned at Brentfield Elementary and Hamilton Park Pace Center Magnet. Anticipated renovations to address facility condition are planned for Northridge Elementary and Stoltz Road Elementary schools. $139 million would go to the teaching and student support category. Examples of projects include instructional materials, digital teaching applications, digital network equipment, and enterprise applications. Career and technical education would receive instructional and curriculum materials. Fine arts would receive instruments, equipment, and uniforms. Athletics would also receive uniforms. Proposition B totals $56 million and includes computer devices such as Chromebooks, iPads, and laptops for students, teachers, and staff. Bond 2021 would lay the groundwork for the district to transform junior high schools into true middle schools by moving 6th grade out of elementary campuses and into schools housing grades 6, 7, and 8. More than 95% of Texas school districts already utilize this middle school model, and the change will provide RISD 6th graders additional academic and co-curricular opportunities. It will also free up space in elementary schools, opening the path for full implementation of RISD's Pre-K for All initiative. The Lake Highlands Learning Community would be the first to transition to the new middle school model. Due to the facility condition assessment, Lake Highlands Junior High would be rebuilt. Forest Meadow Junior High would be renovated, transforming both campuses into RISD's first middle schools. Proposed by the Bond Steering Committee, Bond 2021 would be the first phase of a long-range facilities vision that would extend to the 2026 bond to complete middle school transformations across all of RISD's attendance areas. RISD's facilities condition assessment has helped prioritize which of RISD's aging campuses could be renovated first. Did you know that the average age of RISD school buildings is almost 53 years old? Most of RISD's schools were built between 1952 and 1980. Long-range renovation and replacement efforts could extend through the 2036 bond.
Bond 2021 would also provide equipment for RISD schools, departments, and programs. Some items, like security cameras and defibrillators, have a direct impact of safety, while other items, such as instructional materials, science lab upgrades, and athletic uniforms, have a direct impact on the academic and extracurricular courses that students take. Due to new legislation, certain projects, like technology devices, must be separated into different propositions on the ballot. Proposition A for $694 million is for capital construction, infrastructure, repairs, and equipment. The second proposition for $56 million is for student and staff technology devices. Due to a new state law, every municipal bond proposition in Texas must include the following statement on the ballot even when there is no tax rate increase as a result of passage of the bond. Under state law, this statement must appear on the ballot. Bond 2021 would touch every campus, all without an increase to the district property tax rate. Because of its excellent track record of financial management, RISD maintained an underlying AAA rating from Moody's Investors Service and a AA+ rating from Standard & Poor's. Only a few other Texas school districts have this combination of high underlying bond ratings, allowing RISD a very favorable interest rate on bond sales while lowering the costs of issuance. Please visit the Bond 2021 website at www.risd.org/bond2021.
The website has more information about all the categories, projects by school, answers to frequently asked questions, and voting information.
Please join me in voting on May 1st.
Okay, well, that was 9 minutes of amazing information, and I always hate to follow the video because those kids are so good. It just is, it's when you follow kids, you know you're never going to live up to what they do. So Next thing we want to just do for y'all is we have a slide deck with just some additional information to emphasize, and then we'll be glad to answer any questions. So let me pull that one up. Okay. So the school board did take the recommendation from the bond steering committee that we put together, and they did call for the bond on February 8th. The two different propositions are listed, Proposition A and Proposition B, totaling $750 million. 50 members from across the district were on this bond committee. Due to the pandemic, some of our meetings were in person, but most had to be virtual. We asked our school board, and they did want to provide a charge to the bond steering committee so that everyone knew what the expectations were before this got started. So we wanted to make sure that the 50 folks that represented everyone across the district understood what their role on the committee was and what the parameters were. We had the 5 areas of focus: our facilities, the middle school transformation, growth, student and instructional needs, and of course, equity, all part of the committee's focus along their journey. This visual kind of sums up what the entire process was about. On the left is all the inputs that we gave this bond steering committee. They had a lot of homework to do as part of this committee. We looked at prior bonds. As you know, RISD has done a bond referendum every 5 years since 1996. And we looked at all the bonds and what they covered in the past. Our strategic planning that we did starting in 2017-18 helped us to put new projects out for consideration. Our extensive facilities audit helped us out, the capacity, demographers report, the different program planning committees that we have at our campuses, like Highlands Junior High. We have one going at Forest Meadow now, Brentfield, Pierce, all of those helped us to put together the packages for the campus needs, each of our departments. Of course, our board goals help drive everything we do. And we did a community survey in November to ask our community what their expectation was for an upcoming potential bond referendum. So all good stuff. Gave it to our bond steering committee. And the most important pieces on this are in blue around the edges, and that is the student learning experience. Always keeping the focus of our students at the forefront as we talked about everything related to a potential bond referendum. We took that recommendation in January to our Board of Trustees. They decided to call the election, and then we are asking our community to start voting, early voting in April, and the election on May 1st. So again, the overview: Proposition A, $694 million for the infrastructure and safety, construction, renovation, teaching, and student support. And again, just a quick reminder, every campus is impacted by this bond proposal, as are all of our students. Regardless of what activities they're in, they will be impacted by funding from a bond. The 286 for infrastructure and safety. Some highlights: we're going to update our camera systems around our schools. We're going to put a vape detection system in our secondary restrooms and work with our health services on AEDs and other equipment. Touching roofs and HVAC systems throughout the district. Lots of new flooring for our schools and replacement of furniture in the classroom, the cafeteria. Remember, we brought transportation in-house 3 years ago, so we need to put school buses on our cycle. We want to make sure that our school buses are 10 years old or less. And so along with our maintenance and security vehicles, that will be part of this bond. Construction and renovation. You heard about our middle school transformation. The Lake Highlands Learning Community will be the first group to see this. Lake Highlands Junior High in our facility audit came back as the amount of systems that are no longer working in that school, they're at end of life or beyond. When you look at the cost of all that, it made more sense to rebuild Lake Highlands Junior High. So for the first time, we're going to build a brand new Lake Highlands Junior High, and then when it's finished, we will demo the old one and finish out that site. And then for Forest Meadow, it's already been renovated several times and is in good shape and came back good on the facility condition index. So we're going to renovate it to bring it up to speed for the 6th grade middle school transformation. We continue to see growth across our district. Right now, our high growth areas, Pierce High School is the last of our 4 high schools that needs to be renovated. They need additional classrooms and some renovation space, a cafeteria, and some auditorium work. That auditorium at Pierce has some inadequacies that we need to bring up to speed for current day instruction in our fine arts area. Mohawk continues to see growth and Brentfield Elementary continues to see growth. They'll both need some additional classrooms. At Brentfield, that campus has 2 separate campuses, each one built in a different decade, and they've never been connected. So we have students that have to walk outside back and forth every day. We have to take lunch and supplies back and forth every day. So we're going to connect those 2 buildings at Brentfield, make it one continuous campus. The same at Hamilton Park Pay Center Magnet. It was built as a K-12 K-12 school in the 50s, and the auditorium is separate from the rest of the campus. So we're going to make that connection for them. And then we did a facility condition for the learning environment across our elementary schools. And the 2 elementaries that need work right away on their learning environments is Northridge and Stoltz Road. So we'll be doing that at those 2 campuses. Middle school transformation timeline, as many of you may have heard, is actually a 10-year timeline. Some beginning in the 2021 bond with Lake Highlands Junior High and Forest Meadow, the rest being picked up in a bond referendum in 2026, so that all of our junior highs will have that transformation and be ready to go by the 2030 school year across the district. This also is going to free up space at our 41 elementary schools, really 40 because Dobie's already pre-K, to allow additional pre-K classrooms to be placed at all of our campuses, allowing for the 3,100 full day seats that we would like to see. Teaching and learning has all of our instructional materials, the networking equipment, career and technical education, fine arts, and athletics. Proposition B, for the first time due to legislation, you heard, we have to separate out all of our technology devices. That totals $56 million. These are computers for individual students, teachers, and staff, as well as devices that go into classroom-specific courses. A lot at our high schools, our AV, audio-video classes, and our CAD classes, photography, all those require, art classes require special devices, and that's all part of this Proposition B. The good news for everyone in our community is our capacity at $750 million requires no change to our tax rate. So if our voters approve this, this bond proposal will not increase the district's tax rate. And you can see there what our current tax rate is, $0.4047 per $100 of property value, and it will stay the same should this bond pass. Here's an example of our tax rate comparisons around our communities, and you can see Richardson is right in the middle of all of those, and we do still have the optional homestead exemption, which other districts do not offer. All other districts do not offer. There's 3 of us that have that on here. So we're in good shape financially. We have been financially conservative throughout the years. Planning these 5-year bond cycles as part of our financial model has served us well. This is our tax rate history. You can see from 2005 through 2021, we have been stable with our tax rate. We raised it up with the TRE and then brought it back down with House Bill 3, the most recent changes. So again, our financial plan looks good. Mr. Pate has done a remarkable job of keeping the district financially sound. This is where we need everyone to help us in our community in sharing this information so that everybody understands. The ballot language this year will look very different than anything in the past you've seen for our bond referendums. There is a new state law that is requiring the verbiage, "This is a property tax increase," to be in all caps as the last sentence in the bond language. Even though, and for Richardson ISD, we are not having a tax rate increase, this language is required on the ballot. So we just want to make sure and explain to everybody the difference so that everyone understands why they hear from the information on our website that it is not a property tax increase, and then understand why this language has to be on the ballot. This is what the bond language will look like. It will say Proposition A, the $694 million. Give examples of what that is for. And then as you see, the last sentence, which is in all caps, will say this is a property tax increase. The same for Proposition B, the $56 million for the technology devices. And again, we just want everyone in the community to understand that the language has to be on the ballot, but for Richardson ISD, our property tax rate is not going to increase because of this bond. It will stay flat. How can we do this? Again, our financial and budgeting philosophy, we've aggressively structured and paid down our bond debt. We take advantage of refinancing, which is called refunding, to get lower interest rates. Interest rates have been at historic lows. We have continued to see an increase in our revenue from property values, as you all know, and Mr. Pate continues to help the district to maintain that AAA rating from Moody's and the AA+ from Standard & Poor's, which helps save millions of dollars for us in tax dollars. So we're in good financial shape. Election day is May 1st. Early voting starts April 19th. Tomorrow is the last day to register for voting. And at this time, this is our website, www.rsd.org/bond2021, and we are ready to take questions.
Sandra, I'll turn, before we take questions, I want to give really the 5 headlines. These are the 5 headlines that if someone says, hey, do you know anything about Bond 2021, we want you to have these 5 headlines. Number 1, it is community driven. This is the recommendation of the community. One vision with the districts, but this is community driven. Number 2, all campuses will be affected by this bond. All campuses will receive, lots of things that we've talked about tonight. Number 3, the middle school transformation is a way that over the course of the next 2 bonds for us to transform every single one of our junior highs. We'll be rebuilding 4 of them. We'll be renovating dramatically 4 of them to be able to really have across every feeder pattern a middle school model to serve the needs of our students. Number 4, no tax rate increase. No tax rate increase because of the stability and the financial model of the district that has positioned us to be in this place to where we can have $750 million to touch all campuses without a tax rate increase. And then, but number 5, as Sandra, and oh my goodness, did such a good job of talking about, this ballot language, y'all, is the one thing I want you to really, really register and to share out with everyone that you talk to, because there has been no, everyone can see, if you look back at our past, our TRE, at our prior bonds, sometimes there have been things when people have raised opposition groups or opposition to some of the things that that the community had decided to bring forward for to go on the ballot. This time, really, everyone, as they look at the list of the things that are on this bond proposition, everyone says, yeah, that's what we need and want. The big thing that is the concern for us is, in spite of that, is the fact that this ballot language can confuse people. And so for us, for y'all, for us to help each other, for everyone to be able to be on the same page, to make sure that we all understand that this is not a tax rate increase, even though the ballot language is going to confuse our voters. And so everyone being on the same page, if that's the only thing that you share out when you talk to people about Bond 2021, that will be beneficial, just to inform, and this is all about information, but to inform everyone of what this proposition and the ballot language is all about. So those are kind of your 5 headlines. It's community driven, all campuses touched, middle school transformation, no tax rate increase, and that the ballot language is going to have that confusing language on it, but this is no tax rate increase is the bottom line. So now I'll turn it over to y'all for any kind of questions. So I'll turn it back to Carolyn, and thank you.
Thank you so much. And we have one last panel person with us tonight. It's Christine, and she's a member of the Bond Steering Committee. Did you have any other nuggets to pass along before we go into the question and answer?
I would just echo what Sandra and Dr. Stone have said. Having served on that committee and spent, months looking over the nitty gritty, I think that the community's support and presentation of different projects are an investment in our kids, in equity, and in what needs to happen to maintain the quality of our district and the quality of our homes and our interest for people who are looking and saying, where should I move? Where should I educate my kiddos? I think I'm really here just to answer questions from a citizen's perspective. There is a PAC that has been formed. So if there is anyone interested in getting involved, whether that includes getting a yard sign or submitting an endorsement, there is a website that literally went live today that I would love to let people know about. It's at sorry, I'm blanking on it. The Facebook page is actually at Vote Yes for RISD Kids, and the website is voteforrisdkids.com. So that's a great place for people to get more information that is from the role of the advocates and to be able to sign up if it's something that they'd like to support. We'll also have volunteer opportunities and be present to try to explain at the election day poll places that the no tax increase is something that's been thoroughly researched and it won't impact what we're spending currently. It is just furthering our investment in all of our campuses, our kids, their safety, our educators, the quality of what we can provide for people. I'm really just here to answer questions because those were comprehensive presentations and the same points that I would be making as well.
Thank you very much. And with that, the questions that were submitted in advance, I will spotlight our panel and let you answer as, give me just a moment to find all of our panel attendees in my video. All right, so we have our panel. So the first question, is in regards to moving 6th grade up to the middle school model, and the concern that if it's in the best interest and best practice, why is it taking 10 years to accomplish? And I will let one of you answer that.
Okay, well, I'll start with a couple of things that we presented to, if Dr. Stone's okay with that. A couple of things we presented to the Bond Steering Committee, both our financial capacity and human resources capacity. We couldn't handle doing all 8 junior highs at one time. We had some other projects that bubbled to the top that needed to be handled, and just the amount of construction that it will take for those 8 campuses was more than we could handle at one time. So that's why it's split between the 2 bond in the bond planning piece. As you know, the middle school model has been discussed, for those of you that have been around a while, several times since 2000, most recently in advance of the 2011 bond, and as part of the Reflector Committee to Student Enrollment Growth in the Lake Highlands area in 2016. There was not enough support for the initiative at those times, and our other capital projects were given higher priority. So trustees moved past that at those times. This process being a multi-year transition under this scenario, we don't have to wait anymore. It came out in our strategic planning. It came out in 2 different groups in strategic planning, both facilities and then in our teaching and learning as part of that pre-K, universal pre-K. And the timing is good for this. It works for our campuses. We were going to have to do a lot of work to Lake Highlands Junior High, whether it was being transformed or not. So this fits into the plan well. And we're ready to move forward, getting all 4 of our learning communities up and ready to go, hopefully by 2029.
Anyone else want to add anything to that? Thank you very much, Sandra. That was absolutely made sense. So the follow-up on that is what happens if in 5 years, what's the backup plan should the next bond have an issue? Is there another way to accomplish this goal? And I will let someone else handle, or Sandra, you can, and one of you can answer if there is a backup plan.
Okay, happy to take it, and then someone else can jump in. So as is the case with any project, capital project that this district or really any district plans, it is always contingent on funding approval. No matter what, that is what drives any of these long range projects, particularly associated with facility plans. So given the level of funds needed to renovate, that approval will need to come from voters in our bond elections. So.
Yeah, it's important for everyone to understand that historically Richardson ISD has operated on a 5-year bond cycle. So for big capital projects and for any kind of transformation like is being proposed for the middle school transformation, it would require for the bond to pass. And so, if the bond doesn't pass in 2026, then we couldn't continue forward. But with the capacity and the assurance that we wouldn't raise the tax rate, we would hope that we would be able to educate everyone, inform everyone about the investment that this is for the district and for the future vision of the district. But yeah, simply put, if it didn't pass, we wouldn't be able to follow through because we rely on that funding and that 5-year bond cycle to be able to move forward with the long range plan.
I would just add, all the more important for us to get out and vote. If this is something that we feel is a best practice, then we as a community should make sure our voices are heard, both in this bond and in future bonds. I know it'll impact, I have kids that will be going through that program, and I want to make sure that their facility is what it should be, that their community is built up in a way that's going to help them have a learning environment for success.
A follow-up within the 6-8 model has to do with the magnet program. And so will Richardson High School feeder pattern lose magnet students from Lake Highlands in that switchover because Lake Highlands is coming over sooner? So that's more of an instructional component of the 6-8 transformation.
Yes, so it should not impact. Our magnet programs will stay consistent both at West and Westwood and at Richardson High School. And so it's just a choice that parents have to make whether or not they want to stay in their learning community or move into a magnet plan. So that will stay the same. So we do not see an impact with the 6-8 middle school transformation in our magnet programs.
Thank you. And then the second set of questions was more in the funding aspect. And I do believe the presentation of the slide deck touches into this one, and it's specifying within the bond how much is on construction by campus. Does it get down that specific? And in the follow-up on that, it would appear just from a high glance that the Pierce feeder pattern, because of Mohawk and Brentfield, has a weighted portion of that bond construction. And from an equity standpoint, I guess you could touch on that, how the bond is broken out construction-wise and how it affects all feeder patterns.
You know, our bond steering committee really looked at this, and I'd love for Christine to even add on to what I'm saying, but this was a big part of the conversation of our bond steering committee in terms of really focusing this bond and future bonds and all work on equity and ensuring that all campuses would, by the end of the long range plan, have equitable facilities. One of the things that is important for everyone to remember is that Pierce is the last of the 4 high schools. And that was important for the bond steering committee to learn about the history of the 4. And they looked, oh my goodness, they scoured all of the prior bonds about what was done for all of the other learning communities. And Pierce is the last of the 4 to have renovations to the high school. And so I'd love for Christine to share some of what the bond steering committee looked at and finally felt about that in terms of that equity.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Stone. That was one of the first questions after we had been presented with the recommendations from the PCs and the needs assessment was, wow, this looks like it's all in one area. And they look to be schools that maybe have less financial need. And what we discovered in looking at the other schools that had received services before and recently is that these were kind of held off until the end, specifically for those purposes, to assure that there was an even keel across multiple feeders and in areas where students had great need. So as we looked, and you saw pretty briefly in the presentation, at charts that went through when had these schools as individual campuses been touched, how much had their construction entailed, whether that was just HVAC and a small renovation or whether it was more comprehensive. When was the needs assessment longevity of their project? When would they be coming up again? And we looked at what would the expense be if we pass this over and the impact on the community. So for instance, in the presentation, you heard about Burnfield as a potential safety issue, or the age of Hamilton Park and its original usage versus what it exists as today. The growth in these schools has been tremendous because of empty nesters or different things occurring in the neighborhoods that are surrounding them. And we really were looking at what could be done to ensure that the school's offering matches the capacity and the need, and that construction would be a long-term solution, not a Band-Aid, because what we need to have happen is to be able to touch something in a way that doesn't come up again in just 5 years or 7 years, but it's going to handle things for a while. So those schools are specific to capacity growth needs, safety issue needs, and have been carefully vetted for assurance that they are not stepping in front of somebody else in line or that another feeder has been neglected in comparison to them. After doing a couple of those meetings, looking at the fine-tuned details, the committee felt strongly that suggestions had been really reviewed with a fine-tooth comb, and we were in favor of tackling them now.
One of the things I want to make specifically, and Sandra can help me with this, when we first, because the way that this process works is that the district administration, the campuses, all of the work at the administration side does all of the work to see what the needs are. We look at all of the data. We look at all of the facilities index. We first make our own determination about what we think is needed. So we take that to the committee as a starting point. Otherwise, they would spend a whole year in work and they don't have that. So we take that forward to them. So when we took our recommendations forward to them, they had some other things through that equity lens that they wanted us to consider. So Sandra, will you highlight the things that were actually added to this bond, just so everyone knows that it's not just a rubber stamp of what the district wants. It really was a true work of the committee to make the recommendations about what they felt was needed. What was added from the beginning of our recommendations until the end recommendation?
So on the renovation and construction side, Hamilton Park and Stoltz Road and Northridge were all added as a result of this committee going through the data, looking at the safety features that we talk about, looking at the learning environment of the schools, and really discussing what would be the best bang really for the buck of what we have to spend to impact the students that need these resources. And so those 3 projects were added as a result of this bond steering committee. So the learning environment at Stoltz and Northridge, and then the connection at Hamilton Park.
And then the money for that was actually as a result of the bond steering committee really evaluating the plans that were originally submitted from the PPC for Pierce. And how did that scope change?
So when the PPC committees met at Pierce, of course, they shared all the things at Pierce that need to be reworked, some of the hallways and the auditorium. And so originally we were going to build a brand new auditorium for Pierce High School. And it was determined that it would be better to go in and fix the inadequacies there without tearing the whole auditorium down, and then taking those funds and sharing them among those 3 elementary schools.
And then the great thing is that Sandra and her team followed back up with that. What's PPC stand for?
Program Planning Committee.
Never remember. The Program Planning Committee at Pierce, to ensure that they were in line with what the bond steering committee was recommending to move forward. And everyone came together to reach consensus. This really was all in the best interest of not only Pierce, but also those other learning communities and the other schools that we would be addressing. And I know we've spent a lot of time on this discussion, but this is so important to illustrate the equity of this work, as well as the transparency and the work that this committee did to really bring forward something that everyone thought was best for the whole of the community and the whole district.
Thank you, Dr. Stone, Sandra, and Christine. That was the end of our questions. And I don't know if you would like to give a follow-up closing statement or not, but I will say that what a strong community that we have, and it's great to see everyone working together in the best interest of the community. And I thank you for your time tonight, and know that we appreciate all the work done by the district and the community to bring this meeting together. Any closing remarks, Dr. Stone?
No, just always gratitude for the partnership with the PTAs, the council, all of the local units, and asking that everyone will share this information.
Caroline, I think
Everyone will share this information out in all channels, and then direct any questions that you might have to any of us that can answer them, or back to our website. And grateful for the members of the committee, such as Christine and others, who served and put in all this work to put this out for the future of the district. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a good reminder that all this information presented tonight is actually up on the district website, and can be translated as needed to all of our learning communities. So thank you everyone for joining tonight. Thank you for submitting questions in advance, those who did that. And everyone have a great evening, and enjoy the 3-day weekend.
Don't forget to vote. See you at the polls.